Debbie, I assume you want to talk about the South Carolina primary and what's going on there, whether Bernie will carry the momentum from New Hampshire, which is a long shot, and whether Trump will, which is a little more likely.
Yeah, I wish we could put in the soundbite from the movie Idiocracy, where they have the House of Representatives.
Oh, I probably could.
And the guy from South Carolina goes, South Carolina, what's up?
But I got a solution.
That's what you said last time, dipshit.
I got a solution. You're a dick. South Carolina, what's up?
But I really think South Carolina is going to be a lot different than New Hampshire. And here's the thing. South Carolina is a lot more conservative of a state than New Hampshire.
On the Republican side.
On the Republican side. I mean, Don't forget that New Hampshire is basically Vermont. It's an extension of Vermont. It's like the Ben and Jerry state number 2.
It's more an extension. Wait, it's more an extension of Boston. The reality is,
Massachusetts also.
And it's probably people who are moderates who didn't want to be around liberals in Massachusetts.
Right. That whole New England liberal thing. I mean, even the kinds of Republicans that are elected in that area are people like Scott Brown. They're not people like Donald Trump, even though, again, I maintain that I don't think Donald Trump is really conservative, but the things that he's been pushing as the center points of his campaign, the immigration and things like that, and kicking ISIS's butt, you don't hear those kinds of things coming from the kinds of Republicans that traditionally are from that area, although Scott Brown did endorse Donald Trump. South Carolina is a lot more, I guess, I hate to use the word militant because it has negative connotations, and I view being more conservative as not a negative thing, but a good thing. But they are more conservative and more, they stick to the principles more in South Carolina. And I think that Trump is going to do better there. He's leading in the polls there. And not only that, but he already has a ground game there that he's been working on. And the thing is that John Kasich put, we mentioned this before, he put all of his chips in New Hampshire. He did all his town hall meetings there. He's got no ground game in South Carolina. Jeb Bush, I think, won't do, remember, the Bushes are from Maine. I mean, also they're from Texas and Connecticut and all over the place, but they're pretty much New England liberals.
And by the way, that makes Jeb's performance in New Hampshire that much more pathetic.
Well,
most of the populace lives...
Not only that, but think about it. Jeb Bush in New Hampshire still had a lot of money to burn. And he spent 10 times as much as Trump in New Hampshire on commercials. 1 in every 3 commercials that ran in New Hampshire was for Jeb Bush. And he still, came in for it. That's horrible. South Carolina, he doesn't have that much to spend. He hasn't been spending as much. He also concentrated on New Hampshire a lot. So I really don't think he's going to do as well in South Carolina. Plus, the conservatives, the Republicans in South Carolina, they see that Jeb Bush is not really conservative, and they're not for him. And it's interesting because his brother, George W., when he was running in the primaries in the year 2000, he was losing in a lot of places. He wasn't doing well. And I remember when the then Republican governor of Michigan, John Engler, said, well, Michigan's the firewall, it's asbestos, and George W. Bush is going to win here. And he didn't win here. And the asbestos for him actually was finally at South Carolina. Because at that time, Michigan was before South Carolina. But anyway, so this time, it's South Carolina is not going to be the bulwark for Jeb Bush that it was for George W. There's not the nostalgia for him. There's not the nostalgia for his brother. So I think that, Donald Trump is going to start to solidify things there. Now, as long as Donald Trump has a lot of people running against him, he's going to win. And that's going to happen because Jeb Bush, I don't think, is going to drop out until, and I predicted this before, I don't think he'll drop out until after, if he does drop out, until after Super Tuesday, because he has no incentive to. He still has some money, and it would be very embarrassing to the Bush family if he did drop out earlier. Mm-hmm. I think that also you're going to see Rubio sticking in the race, and so on. So Donald Trump is going to be the beneficiary of that because he's still going to win. He's going to beat the others, and then the others are going to split the difference.
Makes sense to me.